And joining me now is the mayor of Miami-Dade County, Daniela Levine-Cava. Mayor Levine-Cava, welcome to Meet the Press. I know this has been a tough 96 hours. Anything you can update us overnight? Any new signs of hope?
Well, thank you for following this important story. And we did control the fire and the smoke as of about noon yesterday, so the search and rescue operation continued unabated throughout the night.
You announced a decision that you're going to re-inspect, I guess, anything that is 40 years old, any building 40 years old or older, at least in the county. Explain that process, and why did you just start with buildings that are 40 years old or older?
We have a recertification process that starts at 40 years, and then it's every 10 years thereafter. So it's really important that we make sure that all of the buildings have followed that procedure, that we have the necessary reports on file, and that all of the remediation that has been ordered in those reports, recommended in those reports, goes forward. So we'll be doing that deep dive over the next 30 days to make sure that we're up to date. Now, these are the buildings that are in unincorporated Miami-Dade County, which is about 40% of the county. Right. 60% is in cities, and cities are going to have to do their own.
There is voluntary evacuation on some of the other buildings in the Champlain complex here. Is the county going to be able to provide resources for those that don't want to live right now, stay in these buildings for fear that they're not structurally sound?
So just the building that is the sister building to the one that came down, that is the one that Surfside has authorized for voluntary evacuation. And yes, anyone who chooses to leave can be supported. It's also true that the town building inspector went and did not find any immediate causes of concern.
You know, this brought back a lot of memories for those of us that went through Hurricane Andrew down there in South Florida, when sadly we found out that in the 70s and 80s, building inspections in the county were pretty shoddy. This is what the Miami Herald back in 1992 uncovered. Shoddy building practices exposed, panels faulted, Dade's building inspections, a grand jury back then overhauled the building code, and many of the building codes were indeed overhauled. But this building was built in 1981. Do you think you should order a review of any building, basically, that was built essentially in the 70s and 80s, pre-Hurricane Andrew, and have them all re-inspected with a fine-tooth comb?
We have a very strong building code, as you know, and based on Hurricane Andrew, as you say, we learned so much from that, and buildings subsequent have been built to a very high standard. For sure, when we get this information, we may look at what else we might do. At this point, we're starting with the review of those 40 plus. And, you know, look, this, as far as we know and hope, is an anomaly, but the investigation is going to be ongoing. Right now, we're still very focused on search and rescue.
I understand that, but we've seen the initial release of papers about and the inspections of this building, and clearly some flaws were identified 3 years ago. Look, obviously hindsight makes that all look very haunting when we're reading about it today, but does that give you a lot of concern that maybe there's quite a few buildings that maybe you don't know about, and why would you at this point, because it's going through the process? That has to give you more concern that there be more troubled buildings in the area.
So I've been speaking to my fellow mayors of cities, and we are talking about what we will do in the municipalities as well as Miami-Dade County, and I can assure you that we'll be taking a very aggressive look at everything.
Are you getting all the federal and state support you need?
We are very grateful. Not only the state of Florida has been here in force, but the president, on the morning of the disaster, called to offer all possible assistance, and by the end of that day, we had FEMA approval. So we're working super hard to get everything we need, and we've not lacked for any support, as well as support from around the world.
You know, hurricane season just began. The barrier island that contains Surfside and Miami Beach have not been directly hit in a generation, if not more. Andrew missed the barrier island with a direct hit. Do you feel as if the barrier island is ready for this hurricane season?
You know, we have a very aggressive drill for hurricane season. We know how to manage hurricanes. Our emergency operations center is ready to go. In fact, is activated because of this disaster. But we're on top of it, and of course, we'll deal with whatever comes our way.
And finally, I'm thinking about the first responders who are going into a very unstable situation. You talked about the fire that was put out. We remember after 9/11, many first responders ended up with breathing issues, ended up with a lot of, the air quality ended up becoming very harmful to them. What kind of protections are you guys trying to put into place to keep our first responders as healthy as possible?
Yeah. As you say, our first concern is those who are saving lives. So we have all of the protective gear. They have respiratory equipment. We've been using fans, obviously, quelling the fire and the smoke. And, if it was not a condition in which they could breathe, they have had to avoid that area. And we're keeping our people safe because they are sacrificing for each and every day.
Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine-Cava, quite the first-year challenge that you have before you. Hang in there. We're all pulling for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.